Hi, this is Billy Tarasio from Modern Law Practice, and today I am so excited to be joined by Joey Vitale. I said that right?
Yeah, you did it.
Fabulous. So we can talk about an issue that's really, really important. Joey, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. So, like Billy said, my name is Joey Vitale. Not a lot of people get it right on the first time, so good job. My Italian siblings and like third cousins think I'm butchering the name, so we're all just butchering it together. But I'm a trademark lawyer. I work specifically with online business owners, entrepreneurs, business coaches, people with online courses and memberships to protect their growing brands. And I've been doing it for a number of years now, and Billy and I were talking about just the issue of trademarks. I know she's had her own experience with it, and there's a lot of like anything in business and law, as we all know, when you kind of learn just enough to be dangerous or what the mainstream news talks about in a certain topic, it can be dangerous to just kind of take that idea of what a thing is and run with it. And so hopefully we can be talking about trademarks in a way where you're learning something, you're thinking about how it can actually apply and help your business both play defense and offense as it grows.
Yeah. So, Joey, most of the viewers for this vlog are lawyers and lawyers that own their own businesses, because that's what we talk about, issues that face lawyers and how to run your practice. Where do we really need a trademark?
Well, yes and no. So a lot of people think about trademarks when it comes to your business name itself. And we can save the rest for a conversation later, but everything from your logo to a slogan to the name of a podcast or a newsletter that you create, all of those are potentially trademarks that you should think about protecting. And a lot of people think about trademarks the same way that they think about like getting an LLC or getting the domain name or adding social media handles. Like you get the thing and then you own the thing. So you buy the website, you get the LLC, you get the social media handle, and they think, oh, like I'm not trademarked until I get that trademark registration where I can use that circle R. And that's not really the way that trademarks work. So even if you don't have your trademarks registered, you still have trademarks if you're in business.
Okay.
And so those automatic or common law trademark rights are really weak without a registration. And so really, it's not a question of do I need trademarks or not, but it's how much should I protect the trademarks that I have.
That's really interesting. So I was telling you before we started recording that I recently applied for a trademark for modern law, and it was rejected. And it was rejected because of some Ohio firm that has a slogan that says modern law since 1865, which is really annoying. So are you telling me that I never had a trademark?
So this is really interesting because when you're in business, like we said, you have these trademarks, and what trademark registrations try and do is make sure that my trademark and your trademark aren't so similar that we're confusing the public. And so I don't know how, I hate to hear that happen to you. That is really frustrating. But the reality is when you get a registered trademark, then you get exclusive rights nationwide, not just to your specific trademark, but to anything that is confusingly similar to it. And by confusingly similar, I don't mean can you take these two things and compare them to each other and like tell the difference. So the actual test for is it confusingly similar or not is if a reasonable consumer who's familiar with one of the brands saw the other brand, would they think that the two are coming from the same source, or maybe one sponsoring the other, or that there's some type of a connection between the two? And so it's both a matter of the actual trademark itself and the type of customer that business is serving.
That's really, really interesting. So I think what you're saying, or maybe I'm making a leap here, the Ohio firm that owns modern law since 1865 could have stopped me from doing business as modern law.
Yeah, and this is where it becomes kind of a chicken egg struggle over kind of what the law is and what practically is good for your business.
Okay.
So in your situation, are you actually infringing on this other modern law since whatever? That's an interesting legal question. But practically, the bigger concern for you is how likely is it that this other trademark owner is going to send you a cease and desist letter? How worried are they about what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. And if they haven't done it, I mean, we're almost 10 years old. So if they
Yeah.
haven't done it, aren't they kind of stopped?
So I have trademark lawyer friend purists who disagree with me on this, but I would say that you have what I have called umbrella protection.
Okay.
Meaning you did the right thing. You filed for a trademark. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful, but there's a silver lining here, which is that somebody else owns a registered trademark that the trademark office apparently is refusing similar trademarks for, and you haven't gotten any type of cease and desist letter or report against you, which means that you're in a pretty comfortable position where you can kind of exist under the umbrella of another registered trademark and know that other businesses who try and apply for it will also probably face a similar rejection. And so it's not the best place to be in the world, and ideally we can find a way to somehow give you some registered protections there, but it's not the end of the world, and it's better to have done that and had that result than to never try applying and really be running your business on thin ice.
Okay. So what advice do you have for the law firm owners out there? What should they be doing now?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do is I would take a look at your different types of brand elements. So yes, your business name. I know a lot of you have, just last name law firm or whatever it is. But take a look at your business name, a prominent slogan if you have one, if you've spent any money with a graphic designer on putting together a logo, take a close look at that as well. I talked to quite a few lawyers recently about how they're pushing out either podcasts or newsletters, and they have a name for that podcast or that newsletter series. So that's also another type of brand identifier. Just kind of list out all of those different things and then kind of go down the list and say, okay, how much would it stink if I had to not only stop using this, but had to completely rebrand everything in the past and notify all of my team, my people, I'll update all of my systems to have to correct this. And just kind of create a prioritized list of kind of what brands you have that you want to insure against having to totally rebrand. And then eventually you want to think about pursuing a trademark registration for those down that list. But that's the second question. The first question is, how confident am I that I'm not accidentally infringing on another brand with this? And so before you pursue your own trademark registration, you want to make sure that you're searching Google, specifically the trademark database, to make sure that you're not already super close to another trademark. Because number one, that means that if you file your own trademark, it's probably not going to be successful. But number two, it means that you're just one cease and desist letter away from being forced to rebrand under a 30-day window of time.
Wow. That's kind of intense.
Yeah. And so honestly, a lot of people, when they hear all of this, they're like, I wish I would have known this sooner. So ideally, thinking about trademarks as a part of the naming strategy for all of these different branding elements. And before you commit too strongly to one, you can file what are called intent to use trademark applications, where before you even launch the thing, you can kind of secure it as a trademark, which is a great strategy if you can do it. But we're starting to see businesses that now realize this. They're coming to me saying, hey, I want to start a podcast. Here's my short list of 3 names. Can we do a quick search and see which one is the most available?
So one of the things that strikes me right off the bat is you're really recommending that new companies without a lot of money pay for a trademark, which feels like a luxury or optional.
It does. Yeah. Trademarks do feel like a luxury thing that you should do.
But how much should we spend, or how much should we intend to spend on intellectual property before we're making money?
Yeah. So I used to do a bunch of different types of legal stuff for new business owners, from contracts to LLCs to everything else. And it all has its purpose. I don't want to especially knock anybody's practice area. But what I found working with the online business owners that I work with is that if you don't take care of trademarks for a new business, that's the biggest risk that could really affect you. Like, yeah, hypothetically, you might get dragged into a lawsuit where your LLC protection could help you,
Right.
or you might really go back and forth on a breached contract term and have things. But the most likely thing, the biggest issue we were seeing with all of the people that we were working with was trademark disputes, which is why we really focused in on it. And I don't think that you absolutely, if you can afford a trademark registration, for a lot of law firms especially, that's a lower expense than it might be for other types of businesses with lower budgets. But what I would recommend, if nothing else, is to at least run a simple search on the trademark database to make sure that you're not clearly infringing on somebody else's rights. And then monitoring, and again, you can do a lot of this at no cost with a little bit of Google searching, but that's a lot of time spent trying to learn something where you could just completely outsource it.
Yeah.
So what I like to think about as a business owner myself is if you already have levers in your business that you know are kind of generating sales for you,
right,
then I think that the cost savings of outsourcing it to a professional to do it for you are worth it. If you haven't yet identified those kind of revenue generating levers, then it might be worth trying to do this on your own or seeing how far you can get before you reach out to an attorney.
So Joey, where can people find you?
So you can find me at indielaw.com. You can also go to Facebook. I do a weekly live show with different types of trademark tips.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for these tips. We will get it pushed out there, and hopefully other lawyers will not be rejected like I was, but you made me feel a little better about my rejection. So thank you.
Well, good. And I like to tell people that there's always a silver lining to receiving that news. Even if it might be more blanket, even if you get a opposition filed against your application, like it can get pretty serious. But at the end of the day, it's a lot better to learn that those problems exist by taking those proactive measures and figuring it out versus receiving a cease and desist letter and being forced to change it, because that's a lot more expensive at that point anyways.
It's a really good point, and you don't get to decide, the timing of your spend at that point.
Yeah. And the last big mistake that I'll share with you guys is, and I see this with a lot of my clients, is they run that search, nothing comes up, and they think that they're fine. The thing you have to keep in mind is that those searches that you run have an immediate expiration date, and someone can file something the day after you search it. So if you are going to search but not apply, just make sure that you're continuing to search until you submit your application.
Got it. Good tip. Thank you so much, Joey.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Billy.
I'll talk to you again soon, for sure.